Studies show that buyers actually don't want to talk to a salesperson. Automation and technology now exist to actually empower your team, not take the job away. The biggest myth that we are told that we should always be trying to work on our weaknesses.
Welcome to the Supercharge Marketing Podcast. I'm Pius, the VP of Growth at Lumen 5, an AI video creator made by marketers for marketers. This podcast is a rally call for those who believe in purposeful content, brand storytelling, and thought leadership. We feature insights and best practices from forward-thinking marketers and B2B leaders, daring you to stand out in the rapidly evolving world around us. Are you ready to supercharge your marketing? Hi, everyone. I'm very, very excited for today's episode of Supercharge Marketing. Today, I'm joined by someone who I hugely admire, Alice Coe, Head of Product Marketing at Puzzle.io, real-time accounting software for startups. Previously, the Head of Marketing at Resolve, and before that, the Director of Marketing and Head of Content at Procurify. Alice has held marketing leadership and strategist roles over the past decade with experiences across digital, go-to-market, product marketing, and her absolute specialty where she is a magician in content marketing. Not only that, but Alice is a leadership advisor and coach with the Gallup Strengths Finders coaching framework, something that I've previously been very grateful to experience and something that really brings out the best of all of us who work on a team. Maybe let's kick off with a little bit about yourself, Alice, and kind of tell us about your journey in marketing and what drives you here today.
Oh, thanks, Pius. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm a big fan of Lumen 5 and excited to chat about all these things. A bit about me. I actually did not start my journey in marketing, so maybe that's an interesting fact for the listeners. I started off my journey in accounting and finance. So I'm actually a certified CPA. I did all the articling at KPMG, worked in different finance and accounting roles for about 6 to 7 years before I actually did what I really wanted to do, which was join the creative world of startups and marketing. And so now here I am. And as you mentioned, I've had the privilege of not only having that finance and accounting experience, but working as a functional leader in startups and also being a coach.
That's awesome. Yes, that's quite the jump from finance to marketing, and the journey is really great as well. And I think it's very fitting the companies that you work with and work for, and kind of the things that you bring to specialties with those companies.
Thank you.
That's great. So diving into today's episode, I'm really hoping to bring to light something that you've been specializing for a long time, which is content strategies across B2B organizations. Now, our audience is primarily B2B content marketers, so I'm very, very excited for you to share your experiences today. One thing that has been top of mind for a lot of B2B organizations is, of course, our current down market, and we're seeing marketing teams being restructured, budgets being cut, priorities changing. How do you think marketers can help their companies and themselves really come out on top, and how do you see content playing into it all?
That is a really good question, Pius. And I've also had the pleasure of working with different companies during different down turns and recessions. So one of the first things, whether you're in a down market or not, marketers always have to stay on top of trends. And I don't just mean marketing trends, right? And new marketing tools like ChatGPT or Lumen 5. You always have to stay on top of what is going on in the market in your space. So as an example, at my previous company, we worked specifically in the distribution and manufacturing space. So as an example, I would always encourage my team to pay attention to what's going on in the market. The best marketers, in my opinion, understand their customer very, very well. And if you can understand your customer's pains, their challenges, and what keeps them up at night, you will be able to talk to them in a way that resonates with them. Understanding their pain helps you create that messaging and content so you can actually, in real time, test, change, and pivot your content to talk to them in any scenario, including a down market. So I'll give you another example. One thing that you can do when something suddenly changes in the market is change the hero copy on your website. Your website is your main assets. That is where everyone goes to learn about you. So if you're able to A/B test that hero copy, for instance, achieve X during a recession, achieve growth when times are tough. Like, it makes them feel like your company and your team know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember at Procurify when you were there, during that 2020 the recession, you did come and really change the content strategy within the whole company, and that very much helped the company come out on top afterwards. And that was very much understanding the audience, understanding what mattered to them and what pains they were feeling at that time and what they're trying to achieve during the time when everybody was struggling and people didn't know what to do and they didn't know the future. And that content really helped shape the company and turn that around.
Oh, you have a good memory, Pius. Yeah. I think so this was at the start of COVID. Remember, I think I joined
Yeah.
around, it
Hmm.
was March or April 2020. And the first piece of content we put out was actually called Control in a Crisis. Like our company at the time was all about, getting your spend under control. So this guide we put out, Control in a Crisis, actually did really well for a few reasons. It was timely. We put that out right away. We didn't wait 3 months to kind of assess what was going on. We knew what was going on because we were paying attention to the market and we were paying attention to the customer's challenges. Cross functionally, I remember also talking to your team, different CSMs, different salespeople. Hey, what are you hearing on sales calls? What are you hearing on QBRs? And they would surface up these issues that customers were going through. And then as a marketer, you're able to then curate, summarize, and put that information in a consumable piece of content that also adds value to your target audience.
Yeah, amazing. There's two things to unpack there, and one is internal, one is external. Internally, marketers really speaking to the folks who talk to customers all day and talk to prospects all day to understand the timely thing that people are asking, and then
Yes.
taking that and repurposing that kind of idea or and putting that out there so people can find it, so people can look for it and search for it, because that also brings up a good point with how buyers buy these days, with looking for information before they even speak to a vendor, before they even speak to a sales rep. And marketing really has the power to do that. How do you see content and playing how do you see content playing into all those?
Oh, I mean, content. So when people think of content, people think of different things. And this is why it's it's a word that can cause a lot of confusion, but it actually has a lot of power because content is everywhere, right? Content is in your ad copy, content is on your website. Content helps your sales team go out and make cold calls. Content is what helps your CS team expand and upsell. So content is everywhere. So really with understanding where content fits into the buyer journey, it's actually everywhere. So one of the first things that I suggest marketing teams do, and this can be led by content, this can be led by product marketing, this can be led by demand generation, whatever the case, it needs to be done is to build a customer journey map. Especially now, buyers want to feel empowered. Studies show that buyers actually don't want to talk to a salesperson. They will always prefer to do their own research first before reaching out, raising their hand, and saying, I'm ready to buy. What we forget is that there's a lot that happens before they raise their hand and contact your sales team, especially in the B2B world, right? And so by understanding their triggers and their pains before they get to that buying decision is really important. So I'll give you an example. Let's use Lumen 5 as an example. What would trigger somebody, right, a marketing team member, a marketing leader, maybe a founder, to look for a piece of software like Lumen 5? What you want to do is then backtrack that buying decision all the way to the beginning. Okay, so maybe it's a company that has a marketing team, but no design experts. Maybe they're all like T-shaped marketers, but nobody actually has like the Adobe skills to edit and create their own video. Okay, so this becomes a pain. So they start to, jimmy and do things in a scrappy way. Maybe they try to use Canva. Maybe they try to do videos on their phone. Okay, but it's still a pain. Okay, so then what do? Okay, they reach out to their marketing friends. They ask their marketing communities. Maybe they type something into Google. Maybe they look on LinkedIn. So as you track this journey, you start to see the places where they look for information. And then that's where you can plug yourself in. And that's when you can start to create content that's relevant for the journey. So the content at the top of the journey, middle of the journey, and bottom of the journey is going to be different. So also understanding the different pains and what questions your customer target audience will ask at those different stages will help you create that content. And another example of this is at the start of the journey, what we sometimes refer to as top of the funnel in B2B marketing land, they might not actually even know to search for your product because they don't even know it exists. So nobody's actually going to go out and type in AI powered video software creator because they just don't even know it's a thing. People don't know what they don't know. So you actually have to understand, well, what are they looking for? Maybe they're just looking up like how to create video for B2B. So then you want to have content, right, that scratches that itch. And then as they find out that there's actually a category of AI powered video software creation, then they're going to start looking for best of lists. And you want to own that story. You don't want to just rely on Capterra or G2 to tell the difference between you and competitor. Then you can create competitor content. Seriously. And then at the bottom of the funnel, when they're like trying to decide, okay, do I shell out the money? Do I ask my CFO or my CEO if we can invest in this? They're going to be asking more questions related specifically around your product. So then you want more sales enablement, product-based content. So the answer is content touches the entire buyer journey.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that because what we've historically seen is marketing teams creating a lot of the sales enablement content and talking about the product, why their product is great and what their product does and what pains their product solve. But now when you look at where buyers go and how buyers search for information, a lot of times people are searching for things that they don't even know what they're looking for. They just have a pain. They know they feel the pain, but they don't know what product they're looking for. And if a lot of if a lot of marketing teams create this B2B sales enablement content, it's not going to reach those initial buyers. So I love telling that story and kind of telling it from a customer's point of view for what pain are you trying to solve and understanding that really need and desire for what the customer first comes to look for before they reach that catalyst of, wow, I actually have a problem that this product can solve. Let's dive deeper into that. And I think, when you look at marketing teams and content today, it's a little difficult to really sell upline to the executives because a lot of the initial content is non-attributable, right? When people come and find your content, it's like, okay, well, we're spending a lot of time and resources creating this content that we can't track, and we actually don't know the performance of it, but it's so necessary. How have you found, in moving into leadership today, and how have you found your way to be able to create time to create that content, to put resources towards that kind of top of funnel content?
Okay. Yeah, bias. I felt like there was a few topics there we can deep dive into. If I had a penny for every time I heard, but content, you can't track content to success or an opportunity or a closed won, I would be very, very rich because that's true. People don't understand
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
attribution behind content. But like I said, content actually touches everything. So we can talk about tracking in a bit. But to answer your question about resourcing, right? A lot of startup teams and a lot of larger enterprise teams too, especially in this economy, you're going to be smaller. You're not going to have the luxury of having an expert for every single marketing channel or every single marketing project. So you need to find ways to empower yourself and your team. So automation and technology now exists to actually empower your team, not take the job away. ChatGPT is on everybody's mind, right? A lot of people are scared. Oh, this is going to take away my job. Oh, I definitely don't, no one's going to need a content marketer anymore. But that's actually not what I've been teaching my past teams. I tell them, you have to learn how to leverage ChatGPT and all these AI tools. Don't be scared of them. Empower yourself by learning how to use it. And I'll give you an example. So at my last company, at Resolve, there was 4 of us on the marketing team. One specifically was in charge of content. But what I said to them all was, I want all of us to learn how to use ChatGPT, because not only is this going to fuel your career, this is going to make you an overall better marketer for a few reasons. You no longer have to rely on somebody else to create content for you. If you know what questions to ask ChatGPT, you're going to get ideas faster. You can move a lot faster. You'll be more productive.
Absolutely.
You'll be able to experiment more. You'll be able to drive results faster. So I actually train my entire team, not just content marketers, on how to use ChatGPT. And when I thought about this, like in order to leverage ChatGPT, you have to be a really good delegator. because Chat GPT is like your assistant. It is there to help you. It will never talk back to you. It likely won't disagree with you, right? You won't have conflict with ChatGPT. So it's like the best thing that could ever happen to marketers. You just need to know how to delegate. And a lot of marketers get scared about delegating, right? Because they don't want it to seem like, oh, I'm not doing my job, or maybe people don't need me. But if you know what questions to ask that bot, you will come out even stronger at the end.
Yeah, I love that. And the whole thing of, your job isn't going to be replaced by AI, but it will be replaced by the marketer who knows how to wield AI and have that content and experience with them. So that's very, very much what we're seeing as well. And yeah, like AI is right now
Exactly.
is still all within content creation. And you touched on a very good point in terms of how it will change the way that future marketers will work and what skills marketers will need to kind of grow and hone and really learning how to take advantage of that.
Yeah, exactly. And like I was telling my content marketer, hey, you know what? Before you thought maybe you could post 3 high intent articles a week, now you can post 5. This is going to make you more successful. This isn't about getting rid of you. Now we just have ChatGPT. You own GPT. ChatGPT is your assistant. Leverage it. It's there waving at you, just waiting and dying to help
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and then this whole narrative that we've been hearing across our world is really doing more with less, and this is really how, and using that assistant to help you do more with a lot less. And with budgets being cut, people, resources, everything being cut, this is really the way that marketers can do more with less.
Exactly. And if you're currently a leader, or if you're looking to become a leader, being proactive with these tools, ChatGPT, Lumen 5, even copy.ai, I love. They also have something. So if you type in chat.new, it's an alternative version of ChatGPT. So if you want to actually step up as a marketing and content leader, learning how to use these tools is going to actually make you more competitive and unique. It's going to build your personal brand because you now know how to be 10 times more productive, right? And you've
Hmm.
enabled your team on how to be 10 times more productive.
Love it. One thing we touched on earlier was really content attribution, and I want to kind of get your thoughts on that as someone who's been in the content space for a long time and kind of really mapped out that entire journey. And I absolutely agree. I think the different types of content that we put out there really attract people at different stages of that buying journey, and it's so important to have the different pieces of content that attract people at different stages of their buying mindset. How do you see content attribution, and how do you find success in that, tying that back to revenue and tying that back to the success of a company or a project or a strategy that you're trying to deploy?
There's so many ways that you can talk about attribution. Chris Walker of Refine Labs does a really good job of this because he's always talking about, it's not about first touch attribution, which unfortunately most marketers and most companies still use, or maybe last touch, simply because it's the easiest thing to do. It's Salesforce will tell you, oh, this was the first page that was seen, or this was the last page that was seen, etc. So what you want to actually start doing is learning how to attribute content back to the channels. At least that's what I do. And I'll give you an example. So if you're running campaigns on different channels, maybe you have a paid Google campaign, or maybe you have a paid LinkedIn campaign, and you are able to attribute number of leads, number of clicks, cost per click, right? So you can actually attribute those back to the campaigns. Well, guess what? The campaign has content, right? So it's not about standalone content generating leads. It's about what campaign and channel was that content associated with. And that is one thing that content marketers can start to get better at. And then we get around this whole question of like, okay, but what about blogs that aren't necessarily attributed to a campaign or a lead or a closed one? Yep, that might be true, but you can actually build out certain reports depending on what reporting tool you have. Maybe it's Salesforce, maybe you just use good old like Google Analytics, or maybe something like SEMrush, where again, you can kind of track certain leading indicators that suggest that you're building website traffic, or at least leads or marketing qualified leads that will then further eventually create like a closed opportunity. And also with SEO and blog articles, you're going to have a mix. You're going to have a mix of like super high intent articles that you can actually attribute back to opportunities and closed ones. And then you'll just have SEO articles to help me rank. But that ranking also still helps the business because it will drive up, right, your website authority, which will help you leverage and increase your authority and rankings on overall page ones for the keywords you're trying to rank for. So there's always different ways to start thinking about content attribution.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love it. And I think that the future marketers with leaders like yourself kind of leading the way also is really looking at attribution as something that isn't perfect in a lot of ways. And you mentioned word of mouth earlier, G2, right? Those things are all things that is really hard to measure. But when you look at self-reported attribution, as Chris Walker likes to say, is really like, where do customers tell you that they find you? Where do they first hear of you? And oftentimes is not where your tool or tech is telling you that they've heard you, because that's the only place that Salesforce can or HubSpot can track and measure. And that's the only things they're telling you. But all of the different things like podcast or word of mouth, communities, Slack communities, sharing content across dark social is really hard to track and measure. But those are all the great places that customers are finding you. And really, those are the places that companies should be putting resources into. And I think as the marketing world begins to evolve and mature, a lot of marketing leaders will find that as the way that buyers are coming to your business now.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have, I always recommend if you have a like product-led growth strategy, definitely have some sort of attribution field where you can collect that. If you're more like B2B sales-led and your lead will actually talk to either SDR, BDR, or AE, ask them, how did you hear about our company? And they will tell you. Because even though they came through, paid GA, maybe they heard about you on a podcast 2 months earlier. And that's definitely happened to me, where something has come through attributed to like an ad, but when we actually talked to them, it was like this PR article or a podcast our
Yeah.
CEO had been on.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of going back to your earlier comment about that top of funnel and driving that education piece is so important. And putting out that content that really helps educate your buyer on like, what is my pain? What are other people doing? That content could have been seen by a buyer months ago, right? Even like 6, 9, a year ago, that first put them into that lead funnel that, that you can't measure because it was so long ago, but it's so important because that was the hook. That was what brought them to you in the first place.
Yes, yes. Actually, Pies, can I bring up also something about message testing? Because this also might
Absolutely.
help
Yeah.
some of the content marketers out there. When it, it might be hard for you to decide, okay, do we go with this headline? Do we go with this hero image, this hero copy? I think we're all used to A/B testing in emails and in landing page software like Unbounce. Really easy to A/B test. Some other things like just messaging, positioning, taglines, not so easy to message test. But one of the easiest things you can do using, first principles is just ask. Either asking your current customers or asking your target market. So this is something else that I really encourage all marketing teams to do, especially if you're earlier stage and still working out elements of product market fit or positioning or category, is to get a sample of target customers and you walk them through your content and your messaging and you ask them what resonates. Literally, it's that easy. And, if you're in a position where you actually don't have customers that you can lean on, you can actually offer paid gift cards, in exchange for people's time. I think people would be surprised at how open some people are to giving you feedback if you make them feel like they're an expert in their space. That's definitely something we did at my last company when we were trying to go through this exercise of, it is a downturn. What kind of messaging and content do we lead with? Well, we have these 5 ideas. Let's go out and ask our customer and understand what they resonate with the most.
Yeah, I love it. And this really plays into the whole one-to-one functionality of sales and how marketers really need to start thinking in that one-to-one capacity where you're asking customers and you're treating every customer like they're special, right? And really creating that personalized, impactful content for that person, but doing it in a marketing way, which is one-to-many. or one to lots, right? But if you can create that one-to-one experience for this prospect, they will tell you what they what they resonate with, and you,
Yeah.
in turn, you can create that content that resonates with more folks just like them.
Yeah. People like to
Yeah, I
feel
love that.
special. I
They
mean,
do.
we all like to feel like, yeah, I am an expert. And yes, I could actually give you some really good feedback on
Yeah,
this.
yeah, and my opinion matters, right? And
Yeah.
that's really important. Great.
Yeah.
Now, you have some great experiences in growing a company and strategy with content, but another area that I'd love to highlight is how you grow a team and strategy with people. Now, in your work with StrengthsFinders as a coach and executive consultant, you've always been able to bring the best out in individuals, and by connection, bridging that across teams of individuals as well. Now, as marketers really continue to need to expand their skills and mental models just beyond just marketing into sales strategists with that one to many or product influences, what should marketers focus on and what strengths should we be developing to be successful in our roles?
Some context into this is, we talked a lot about how marketers, well, anyone that works in a business can leverage AI to empower them and make them more productive and collaborative. So, if you are actually getting assistant on the more technical pieces of your job, this is actually why building those soft skills is even more important. Because for now, anyway, for now, we can't really use these tools to help us from the communication and cross functional aspect of communicating better and working well with others, right? So AI is actually a really important tool, regardless if you're a founder, leader, manager, or just team member. I guarantee all of you are working with other people. So one of the easiest ways to build like better collaboration with others is actually to first understand yourself. So in my work as a certified StrengthsFinder coach, what I found was building self-awareness actually helps you work better with others because you begin to see what you're naturally strong at, which just comes easy to you. And then you start to understand that everybody has different strengths and everybody has different blind spots. And that if you can learn to understand yourself better, you can actually understand your team better. And then when you rise into a manager position or even a leadership position, you will be able to individualize your approach with everybody. So I think your question was, what kind of strengths should marketers build these days? If there's a strength of building self-awareness, that is the number one thing I advise everybody to do. Like I said, if you can build awareness about what you're prone to be good at and what you're also weaker at, you can use that information to make you even stronger in the workplace when it comes to collaboration, communication, and just getting stuff done.
I love that. And when you're looking at that individualization of what my strengths are, you really start to realize that other people have different strengths and whatnot as well. And you bring up a good point about the blind spots. Can you dive into that a little more?
Yes, yes. Could we actually use you as an example, Pius?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I remember when we did your strengths. So you had many, well, all strengths are good. Let me just begin with that. This assessment, if you want to do it, you can find it on gallup.com. I believe you had the strength of strategic, learner, and input. Were those in your top five?
Yep. And
Yeah,
individualization, I
and
think, as well.
individualization. Okay.
Yes.
So I think one of the ones that you and I actually resonated and vibed on was the strength of input. So
Yes.
input is the natural ability to absorb and consume a lot of information without being overwhelmed. So you can imagine in a lot of different roles, this is a really, really strong strength and skill to have, right? Because you're able to learn quickly, digest lots of information, summarize it quickly, and you just are able to understand things maybe in a bit of faster time frame than others. But with every strength, there's always a blind spot, right? I like to say with great power comes great responsibility because you have to be very careful of how that strength comes out, especially as a leader. So Pius, let me ask you, you resonated with the input strength. How does that come out for you as a blind spot though?
I think, well, when I look at the individualization and input piece, realizing that maybe I take a lot of information in and some of it might not be interesting to other people and some of it might not resonate with other people as well, because it's not something that either they care about or maybe they don't see the connection on as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, exactly. So now that you've built that self-awareness around yourself, you're able to proactively leverage that as a leader, right? Because as a leader, you manage many different functions. So I'm sure you're absorbing a lot of different types of information at any given time, but that's one of your strengths. Pius' strength is that ability. So you can understand what's going on in marketing, in sales, in CS, right? But you probably watch out for when you share information with your team. Like you just said, you now know what to share and what not to share. Because if you just shared everything that you consumed, other people would get confused. They would feel like they were thrown off focus. They might not be able to execute well. So you're able to keep your input strength in check because you have built that self-awareness about yourself.
I love that. Yeah. And I think Strength Finders has helped a lot with building the teams for myself personally as well. And realizing that one of my core weaknesses is organization and being, kind of process driven, which is where you kind of find teammates who are very strong in those areas and kind of offset your weaknesses as well.
Yeah. And again, this framework suggests that not everyone is supposed to be well-rounded. In fact, that is the biggest myth that we are told, that we
Yeah.
should always be trying to work on our weaknesses. Under this framework of StrengthsFinder, that's not actually true. Your greatest chance of success is actually leveraging what you're naturally good at. So when we think about people that we admire, let's say, Elon Musk, Oprah Winfrey, would we say that they're well-rounded people? No, they're very, very good at what they do, though. So if we follow that same framework, we will be able to build a team, hire people, and work with people who are actually stronger at the things that we're a bit, like you said, weaker in. So that puts pressure off of you to do something you're not naturally good at, and other people are able to work in their zone of genius.
Yeah, and that really builds a lot of empathy for the teams and the people that you work with, and understanding that, hey, it's okay, that maybe you're strong in one area and you're weak in the other, but as long as they realize that and they have that capacity to understand that there's different mental models other than the way that they're thinking, they're able to really fully let that go and rely on their teammates, and that really builds such a strong collaborative team and functional team as well.
Exactly. And it builds psychological safety. And
Yes, it
Google
does.
has done research on effective teams, and psychological safety, the presence of psychological safety, is the number one indicator of an effective team. Because when your team feels psychologically safe, they feel like it's okay to take risks, disagree with you, make mistakes, and they won't feel like they're going to be punished for it because they now feel that it's safe and okay to be their natural selves at work, even if it's different from their manager or from their teammates.
And that allows people to try more things and find more success in things, right? And fail more
Exactly.
often, which is okay as well.
It actually feels innovation. It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does for sure. And tying that back externally, now that you understand yourself, you also understand your customers, and seeing that their mental models might be different than the way you think, and tying it back to content, allowing you to create that content that really resonates with each person. Going back to your point earlier of making your customers feel special and create that impactful content, understanding that different people have different mindsets and people take information differently. So there's so
Yeah.
much that we could kind of create content for around that thought as well.
Yeah. And this theme is really around curiosity, right? It's
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
curious about yourself, how you
Mhm.
come out as a team member and a leader, getting curious about your team so you can maximize their potential and help them be more productive and excited and engaged at work. And also curiosity about your customer so that you can understand their pains, their challenges, because that will help you create the content to bring them into your funnel. So if there's one theme here, it's that get curious about all things. That will help you as a marketer.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, thank you so much, Alice. I think this has been amazingly fun. And I wanted to ask you, where can our audience find you? Where can they look at you for more information?
Oh, thanks, Bias. They can find me on LinkedIn, Alice Co, and you can also follow me on Twitter at This Is Alice Co. And if you are a startup looking for accounting software that is real time and not QuickBooks, check out puzzle.io.
Love it. Hey, listeners, we always want to keep our episodes short and impactful, and we hope you found value in what you heard today, as that's really our goal, is to connect you with industry leaders with expertise to share so we can all grow together. As always, keep making purposeful content in this B2B world, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, hit subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to your podcast, or leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube. If video is not already part of your marketing content strategy, it's not too late to start. Create amazing videos with Lumen 5's AI-powered video creator without the need for any design or video editing experience. Check us out at lumen5.com to supercharge your marketing, or follow us on LinkedIn for updates and resources. As always, keep making purposeful content in this B2B world. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.